Good afternoon, Bahamas. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM this Labor Day weekend. Bahamians, this is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and people are going to be celebrating tomorrow, which is Labor Day, June the 7th. And I'm grateful to be alive and to be able to see it come to fruition. And so you have the various groups getting together, organizing themselves. And of course, the labor leaders wanted to be strictly for labor, not for Junkanoo, not for political parties, not for church groups, but this is a day for workers. And workers ought to organize under their respective unions and come out in full force and support their leaders. Because whenever you have a problem with your job or with anything that has to do with money, you run to the labor leaders and you ask the labor leaders to defend you. You don't ask the Junkanoo leaders to defend you. I heard one of the union leaders say this very clearly. Sometimes we get things all mixed up and we're not clear as to what we ought to do as workers. Our relationship with our union leaders, our relationship with the union itself should be a very strong one, because either labor unite or perish, as the founding father would have said, Sir Randall Fox, the founding father of labor in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And he had done quite a lot of work to give us the rights, the freedoms, the privileges that we have as a nation. And so some hard-fought freedoms were won by labor leaders in this country. So we have those things. And of course, there's been improvement insofar as the conditions for work from the days of slavery right on up to now. We have had and have seen tremendous improvement in the quality of life for workers. But we are allowing those things to slip from us, and other factors are getting involved. And so we have to be very, very careful that we don't lose what our founding fathers have given us. We have a good crop of rights, freedoms, and privileges that we need to protect. And so you go out and you celebrate this Labor Day. Make sure and be very careful. Those who are driving, make sure you're not drinking and driving at the same time. Make sure get a designated driver to drive if necessary. And those on the Labor Day parade, I hope they will take every precaution to keep those vehicles away from those who are parading in the parade, because you don't want any accidents. Several years ago, we had a terrible accident and a few people lost their lives. And it could have been because of negligence on the part of a particular personality at that particular time. And with human beings, there is always the possibility of error. You have to take precautionary measures because errors can occur. People get a little tipsy and they get a little excited and they can just lose it. And you can have tragedy. So we don't want to have any tragedy on this Labor Day. This is the 50th anniversary. Well, the 50th anniversary is already passed. This will be the 51st anniversary of our independence in July. So we're celebrating Labor Day now. And then, of course, Father's Day is just around the corner. And then, of course, we have July the 10th, 2024. I was saying July 10, 1972. That's when we started out. But now we would be celebrating 51 years as an independent nation. And independence ought to be the crowning symbol of our nation. That's what we work hard for, to become a nation under God. And there's so much to be grateful for, so much to be thankful for the many persons. And I want you to reflect on the many persons who have contributed to labor, particularly the leaders who were in the forefront, men and women. I just remember now Teresa Mortimer, one of the women who was involved, and Idina Burrows, and you had some other women who were involved in the labor movement. And of course, you had the men in there. They were involved in making some significant changes to labor relations. Keith Archer, I think he's deceased now. But we mustn't forget those persons who have trod before us and have made it possible for us to enjoy what we're enjoying today. I think sometimes we just forget the persons who went before us and who did good. Sometimes we remember the negative things, and that has its place and time. But then, in a matter like this, since we're celebrating Labor Day, and we're going to be celebrating independence, of course, and also Father's Day, so those are three different celebrations coming up, then we have to pay tribute to those who made it possible for us to enjoy the rights, freedoms, and privileges that we have today as a nation. Now, of course, the lines are open today. I'm going to let you speak on any particular issue that you would like to talk about and also give any possible solution to that particular matter that you would like to discuss and bring on the airwaves. Because sometimes we make complaints, but we don't consider, is there a possible solution to the problem? What is it that I can bring to the table? Because bringing something to the table that is positive is good. We want to encourage people to do that. Put on your thinking caps, Bahamians, and start thinking, what is it that you can do to make Labor Day a better day? What is it you can do to make independence for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas a better day? And of course, the fathers of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You know, Father's Day is just around the corner. We want to thank those fathers who have done well. We have some good fathers who have done extremely well. Not too many of them have been at the forefront of their families. So we have to correct that problem. That is a very serious problem that must be corrected. We must look at things objectively, Bahamians. Do not bury our head in the sand and think that things are okay, because they're not okay. We have too many families that are hurting because daddy isn't there. Daddy is not home. Daddy is probably deceased, or daddy is sick in hospital, or he is suffering from other serious injury. He might be laid up somewhere. And also those families where the fathers just are not there at all, period. And the children don't know who daddy is. Now, that is very, very difficult for some of us to understand, particularly a person like myself, who've always had mommy and daddy from day one. And it's just as if they were still here today. I always remember mommy and daddy. Every time I wake up, mommy and daddy were right there. Never a day without mommy and daddy until they passed. And by the time they passed, I was ready for the transition to move into leadership, because they stood around long enough and grew me up, and others who were in the family, that we now can move on from where they left off, because we were well trained, well qualified to take over. And so we had that smooth transition. Now, let me just tell you this. What I do not like is from my generation going down is where the real problem is. We've seen a breakup of families. Too many things happening, too many cracks in the families. We have people doing their own thing. They're not settling issues properly. And the police always talk about the young men settling their differences peacefully. They don't know how to do that. We have to teach them how to do it so they can live, they can stay alive, Bahamians. We have lost too many already. And there are still some out there who have this hatred in their heart because someone did something to them or said something to them, and they didn't like it. And so they have it within themselves to take action against someone or some people because of what they perceive to be something said or done against them. That's not the right attitude to have. So we have to help our people to settle their differences peacefully. We need peaceful resolutions. And of course, we have children running away from homes. That is another issue that is affecting our country. Why is it that children are running away from home? You should want to stay with mommy and daddy. Why would you want to leave mommy and daddy? I never wanted to leave my mother and father. In fact, I never did. They left me. And so I always accepted the covering from my mother and father. I wanted to stay there until Christ come back, if you ask me. But of course, at some point down the road, you have to take responsibility. And that's what happened. And they're not here today, but they did an excellent job in preparing the next generation. But now, what are we doing to prepare the next generation of Bahamians in becoming responsible citizens, mothers and fathers in the country? We got to take care of these children. And there are plenty of little children, plenty of them out there whose fathers and mothers are not able to assist them for some reason or another. And we should not despise these children. We should be sympathetic to these children. We should do as much as we possibly can, even to the point where we should adopt some. Some of us can do some adoptions. And those who can do should look at the possibility of considering it, because these young people need the fathers and the mothers. They don't have that. They were caught in a situation that's beyond their control. And so you can't blame them for that. And sometimes parents got caught up in situations that may have been beyond their control. So we don't want to get into the blame game thing. We just know that there are some serious problems. There are those of us who can help and assist in strengthening the country, in strengthening the nation, in strengthening these families. Because God's word says the older women are to teach the younger women, teach them to take care of their children, to love their husbands. And I certainly hope the older women are doing that. And of course, the fathers, the older fathers, the senior fathers, are to teach the young men to be responsible. They got to take on a wife. They have to know how to handle them properly and not be attacking the women and the children. That's not a good thing. We have a lot of that happening in the country. It's a major problem that must be dealt with, and we have to find a solution to that. So there's so many areas that we can talk about today. I'm going to leave it open to you. The lines are wide open, 326-0271, 326-0272, for you to comment on what you would like to see happen on any particular issue, because there are many, many issues that are affecting the people. People are talking about the cost of living. The cost of living is high. People are complaining how high it is to get a little bit of food, Bahamians, to pay the light bill, to pay the water bill. And they have to find the little money they have in their hand. They don't have enough money. So they either have to pay on the light this time or probably pay on the water the next time. They don't have enough money to go around to pay all of their bills when they come due. So some bills are going to go unpaid until next time. And that could be next month. That could be 2 months down the road. It might even be 3 months down the road. And some of us are living from hand to mouth, from paycheck to paycheck. And some also, again, go hungry. They're not sure that there's going to be anything in the cupboard in the morning. They don't know that. So the children are going to be crying out to daddy, and daddy's going to get upset because he doesn't have any money in his pocket. And then mommy was going to get upset because she is doing the best that she can. And it's important that we take care of those children. Those children are hungry. They need food. They want to eat. And we can't let the little children stay hungry. Even if we don't feed ourselves, parents, my mother and father always did that. They made sure that the children would get something to eat. And that is important. I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. This is Open Line Thursday. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, Professor Sidney McAver, Walter Thompson.
Yeah, happy Labor Day to you.
Happy pre-labor and God's blessings to one and all. I must give thanks to the Almighty God, through Jesus Christ of Nazareth and the Holy Spirit enveloping us all.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
a safe and blessed day and celebrations to one and all. Also, good afternoon and divine salutations to all my recipients, especially King Charles III and Queen of Consort Camilla, my mother boss, former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, and the mother of the nation, Dame Marguerite Pinling, Her Excellency for life. I heard your commentary just now. And we shall cause the financial freedom to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
God's willing, as of the completion of this holiday season, and we must say blessings to the children now of Sir Randall Fox,
Yes.
but the late Lady Fox, I'll never forget, she kissed me on the right-hand side of my forehead when this was enacted up at the House of Assembly while I was doing duties there.
Yes,
She's a
ma'am.
wonderful angel.
Yes.
But now, like I say, Mr. Frederick Audley Mitchell, the Honorable Chairman for the Progressive Liberal Party and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has opened the doorway because he says that the United States of America has welcomed all of the bright lights and never returned. That's one of the reasons why I said, and I always preface, that we must partner 100% with the federal government of the United States of America, because our intelligence and investigations shall release those funds, especially to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the best law enforcement agency on planet Earth. Now, all of those who have problems with their homes, their mortgages, that shall be addressed. And this is one of the reasons why I always hail out to the nation leaders, because they are not at fault. We have had technocrats from expatriates interfering in the financial institutions, unknowing to plenty that the police officers are aware of. And I told them that because it's politically explosive, I will take the blows for all of our police officers, because our commissioner now is a young man. He came in 84.
Yes.
Okay, so 84 was when all the drama happened, when A.D. Hanna, the late A.D. Hanna, walked out from Prime Minister Lyndon Oscar
Oscar
Pinley.
Finling, yes.
Yes, okay. And that was in October. I
Yes,
could
ma'am.
remember it vividly. Now, everybody under the sound of my voice, the Bahamians are not supposed to be impoverished.
Yes, ma'am.
And we will cause the information to be shared to address all of these high prices and inflation that ought to have been shared from when Ben Bernanke over in the United States of America handed over to Alan Greenspan. And this is one of the reasons why I said we must come together collectively. And I did not, let me just share, I did not intentionally not acknowledge the honorable opposition leader. I knew it was going to happen. Now, he has been reinstated as leader,
Yes.
and to his mother, who is a prayer warrior, she also prayed for me on the steps of the House of Assembly, Mother Laura Hepburn Benson.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So I have no animosity against the young man. I am only smiling because God has an excellent sense of humor. All those who came out and endorsed him cannot ever seek leadership, not before 2026, because they will be seen as deceptors and traitors, and that put them in the dance. And we need former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Minutes, because the present candidate for the GOP, he had asked for the financial report from many nation leaders, I think at his place in Florida.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
he will be vindicated, and all of that entails money, along with Mr. Joe Biden, because you see, they have set up his son. The whole situation was supposed to have been avoided from 1987. Mr. Reagan said that no U.S. president was to ever be indicted because it will compromise the citizenry of the United States of America, the defender of all disadvantaged nations with her divine currency of In God We Trust. So I only call to give you all that hope. Oh, and also, happy pre-birthday to God's ushered in Prime Minister, the third, I call him God's leader number 3 from one law firm, the Right Honorable Philip Edward Brave Davis and Mrs. Davis. Y'all have a wonderful day, along with Mrs. Christie and Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram and Mrs. Ingram. God is in control. Now, God bless one and all under the sound of my voice.
Thank you.
You all will see God's blessings, because I will be a woman of action as of this ending of this vacation, what they're going to enjoy.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody who believes in a risen Lord and Savior Jesus Christ of Nazareth, they have no problem. Those who are anti-God, they have a problem. The black Israelites who hate white human beings.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
good afternoon to all our white human beings from Sir Roland Simnitz to Stafford Stan and everybody, the He Expenders. God bless you and keep you all and enjoy in safety.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Those were remarks from Berenice, and she is fighting for the cause to get all the Haman families for financial relief. It has been a fight that has been going on for some time, and she is working on her part to make sure that that comes about. And of course, it's going to take the nation pulling together with its political leaders to make sure that things go in the right direction. Because we have suffered 50 years and 10 months from independence. You count all the way back from January the 10th, 1967. Wow, you're looking at almost 57 years. People have, particularly people of color, who have been exploited. And we've had men of color who were in charge or who were running things in the country, and yet still, up to this day, we have this exploitation in our country. Because even Obie Ferguson, a distinguished labor leader, is concerned about what's happening now with labor. Labor is going through a crisis, a very serious crisis. And I am praying that they stand together. I'm going to go out there on Labor Day tomorrow and see what Brother Ferguson is going to say and get a copy of his speech, because he's going to be speaking, and I think either the Prime Minister or the Minister of Labor is going to speak, but we will see how that goes. But it's important that we put aside all of the this and that and the next thing and really move quickly, because people are suffering a lot economically. People are struggling just to get a plate of food, Bahamians, just to put something on the table for the children to eat. And some even go to bed hungry, I understand. That should not happen in the Bahamas. Why should any child, with all this food we have in the country, where People are throwing away food in the garbage. Why we want to throw away good food when that food could be properly secured and utilize good quality food, utilize to feed persons who cannot afford to buy it? Why throw it away? Why waste it? But there are some people who believe that they can do that, and they do it every living day. They waste that food. They don't utilize it. They just throw it away. So we have people like that who have that kind of luxury at their fingertips. And whereas people in Baintown and Fort Fincastle and other places throughout New Providence and the Family Islands, they're scrapping to get something to eat, payments. That is something we need to think about. What can we do to deal with this food crisis? You know, there was one family, the Holovesco family, which was given some funds during the pandemic to feed the Bahamian people. How well they did it, that's another kettle of fish again. You'll have to investigate that and look at that. But a lot of things went down Bahamians during the pandemic. And we need to look at it objectively and come to understand that there are some things that we have to change. We can't continue doing what we were doing in the past. It's not good enough, Bahamians. Those of us who have the authority in our hands have to realize that you got to change. Now, if you don't want to change, that's another thing again. The Bahamian people have to do something about it. They'll have to remove you. They'll have to take the positions from you. That's what's going to have to happen. You're going to have to cease supporting people who refuse to do better. That's a given, Bahamians. You can't just let people keep taking advantage of you day in and day out, night in and night out, and you just keep taking it, particularly when you don't have to. Because I believe very strongly a lot of the suffering that we have in this country is needless. In other words, it is absolutely not necessary. It could be avoided. Now you have to take some stringent measures to avoid some things from happening, because some people are so entrenched in their bid to keep people in the level of poverty. That's not a good thing. But it's a good fight to relieve people from this kind of thing, where people can have good paying jobs, that they can have enough money to take home, to go to the farm and the local farms and pay for produce that the farmers are producing. And we can get things done, Bahamians, because people need food. We have good weather in the Bahamas. We can grow a lot of things in the Bahamas. We just got to put more emphasis in agriculture. And fisheries, of course, well, I eat more chicken than I eat fish. I got to start eating more fish now. And I'm beginning to do that. But we got to have fish more readily available, and then it has to be reasonable. You know, if it ain't reasonable, Bahamians will look at it and say, now, that ain't quite reasonable. So we have to make the price for fish reasonable. Now, I know a particular group that sells lunches. The price for their fish is very reasonable. And every time when they have lunchings, I would support it because the price is reasonable. And the fish is good. Good sized fish with other things to go along with it. And I think they should be supported because that's important. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272. We're here on Open Line Thursday. This is the day before Labor Day. Of course, Labor Day is tomorrow. We won't have any show tomorrow. We'll be back again on Monday. And so it's important that you participate today. Make sure you get in, call in, let us know how you feel about a lot of these issues that affect the Bahamian people, and what are your possible solutions to these problems that are affecting us. I hear the music in the background. We can go to a break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
South Beach to Bay Street.
I'm pleased, I really dig your company.
It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
We're back. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. I want to wish the Bahamas a very happy Labor Day tomorrow. I want you to enjoy yourself, enjoy the parade. I'm going to go out on the parade and I'll talk to as many people as I possibly can because I think it's important we need to celebrate Labor Day. Labor Day is a very important day. Then, of course, we have Father's Day just around the corner. And we also have Independence. See, those days are extremely important. We have a call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Brother Sidney.
Hey, how are you, man?
Right here, man.
Good. Happy Labor Day to you.
Yeah, same to you, too.
Yes, sir.
You know, I hear you talking about people, sometimes people go to bed hunger and
Yes.
stuff like that, and
Yes.
with the food, and we have heard the Prime Minister said, you know, there's some things they could have do more to help to bring down the crisis of the food.
Yeah, he
And I
said
keep
that
on-
they were not successful in getting the prices to drop. Yeah,
I
he did
keep
say
on
that.
suggesting to them and say, listen here, since the big people them want to play hardball with these food in these stores, let the people them bring the food them over duty free. Let them go over on the bring the big boat back in again, the cat. See, there's many ways you could, they playing hardball. Okay, but you show, give the people that liberty, freedom, and who won't go, could go and bring the food back. Because right now, for Sydney, trust me, I've been over, even America is crying about the high prices now in
Yes,
food.
they are. That is
When
correct.
when I used to live in Liberty City, not in Liberty City, Carroll City,
Yes.
1 tin of corned beef for $6.
Wow.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
When the noodles we buy here for $1, in some places 75 cents,
Yes.
that was $1.50
Yes.
in some places in Carroll City.
Okay.
But the point is, I witness and I know for sure, first hand on, this food program that they have, they need a better system. There are people who are getting from 4 different places.
Okay.
They are beating the system. They don't have no good system here that if you go to Bahamas Food Network, your name is registered inside there. Or if you go to Roll, your name will be registered there. There's no name is registered in some of these places. They only, so when they go to Roll, they go to social service. So Roll gonna know, he don't know if they even been the social service
Yes.
or they been to the food
Yes.
network. They need system inside this Bahamas
I
to
agree.
control that.
Yes.
Those who really, really need it,
Mhm.
they could be able to get something.
Yes.
Because what the Food Network do, and I see them doing it, they bag up a lot of grocery
Yes.
and they send them off to different churches.
Yes.
The churches then turn around and give it to the people who come to their church,
Yes.
making the people believe now it's them who is giving out these baskets and stuff.
Okay.
You see? But I could see, I don't come on the radio and talk foolishness.
Okay.
That, hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead. Go
That
ahead,
is
caller.
what is taking place here.
Okay.
You see? And this government got to make some giant step. They can't make no little small mouse step.
Yes.
They have to do what they got to do because people are hurting in this country. Sometimes we know people make bad decisions, but then they
Yes.
get their little couple dollars, but we can't look at that.
That's
We
true.
got to feed our people.
Yes.
And if our people is not eating, the wealthy is getting more richer and the
Yes.
poor is getting poor. So government, they say they could run the country. They want to do what they have to do. Now they have to find a way how to bring down this food because trust me, them fellas, them say they ain't budging. They are not gonna bring down their price. And I blame government. You know I blame government? The same food slip that government write, who they write it to? They write this food slip out to them big fellas. That don't even make sense.
I hear you.
It
Yeah,
don't even
okay.
make sense because
All
why?
right.
I trying to fight against you, but yesterday turning it around, writing the full slip to come to you, still in, giving you more power, and
Yes.
you ain't checking for me and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes. Okay. All right.
You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I follow you quite clearly.
My last 2 points.
Yes, sir.
The church, the union, need a vision. I can't see in heaven name why the church, some of them can't get together, get a big old warehouse for their members and other church members to come and get stuff with a 10% discount. No vision. The union, look at the union. The union can't come together and say, look here, we gonna buy a big old warehouse and bring in food and stuff for our members that our members could buy 10% or 20%. No, they don't have no kind, there's no vision. And you keep preaching this every day where there's no vision, the people are perishing.
Yes, that's correct.
Because the little money they're getting, where they spend it, they gotta go to the same big place. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution. And the caller has some very valid points. For example, we have to look out for the most vulnerable people in our community. They have to be protected against snakes and vipers who will try to take advantage of them. Now, I understand that there is a network that is out there. I know I'm trying to think of the pastor now who is a former president of the Christian Council. And I just can't think of the name right at the moment. It probably will come to me. Who started this program of giving out kits for backyard farming, which is a good thing, and also trying to get the local farmers to work together to produce, and so that those things can be sold. You don't want just everybody doing the same thing, but to have them grow at certain times, and so everything could be utilized internally by our people, that nothing goes to waste. And I think it takes cooperation, it takes hard work, it takes pulling people together. I know from experience that sometimes it can be very challenging for the leaders, the personalities who are involved. And you talked about getting one big warehouse uh, for people who to buy food from abroad. Whereas this particular pastor, I can't remember his name right offhand, where he is interested in us producing food here in the Bahamas rather than importing this food. What we could grow here, let us work with growing it here and encouraging the farmers to do that. I think that is a good thing. Now, some things may have to be imported, and we want to grow as much as we possibly can so that the money stays in the local economy. Because every time when you have to import, that means there's money going out of the country. And so, yes, you have certain personalities, I'm going to put it that way, who are big in the food business, and they believe that you have to come to them to buy their stuff. And that is not necessarily true. Sometimes we think we need to have it, when actual reality we don't need to have it. We can separate ourselves from it because there are a number of things that we have in our country locally, which grow on its own accord, right? And if we take some initiative and be able to cultivate some things, we can even get more done. But sometimes we ignore, say, for example, the coconut. Yet we still import all kind of coconut this, coconut that, coconut the next. And when we have the coconut right here in the Bahamas, we're not using the local coconuts. And they grow year-round, Bahamians. You can get coconut oil, you get coconut water, you get jelly coconut, you get coconut to make coconut cake. It's just so many things you can do with the coconut. Even with the bark of the coconut, the hard shell of the coconut is well protected in that shell. But it provides food. And we need to take advantage of utilizing the local coconut. It's in abundance in our country. But a lot of us just simply let them drop off the tree and they drop on the ground and they stay right there, and then eventually disintegrate into the soil and start growing back up all over again. So we have local products that are right in our hand and we're not using it. So we need to look at what we have locally and begin to take the initiative. And Patrick Paul, that's his name. The name just came to me. Pastor Patrick Paul from the Assemblies of God. Now, I like his style. I think he has interests in the people of this country. He's come up with a remarkable program to get Bahamians to grow their own food and also to get others who want to get into the business of producing food to be well organized. And I think that is a good thing that he's doing. I think we should support it and not too much importing all of this other stuff that people want to bring into the country. Not everything that is imported is to our taste or to our liking. Now, others might be making the food out there, but it might not necessarily be good for us. So we have to be very careful what we are importing and what we're eating and who we're eating it from. That's another thing we need to look at. But I think there's enough in the local market, what we could generate, utilize to a great degree, and be able to save a lot of money by keeping it in the local economy. It doesn't even have to go out of the country. It just circulates round and round and round, providing food, providing other products that can be made from these plants that we have. And we can be doing well in the country. But we have to take the initiative. And so sometimes when people put these things, and Pastor Patrick Paul, we're grateful for what he's doing on his team. The thing is that it can be sometimes challenging, not impossible, but just challenging. And you're working with other people. You have to be understanding. You have to explain things to them. I know I have to do this very often because some people don't understand. So you have to be gentle with them. You have to bring them along. They don't understand. And so you have to make room for all of that. So sometimes it may look as if nothing is happening. And I'm sure Mr. Obi Ferguson, who's been with the union for such a very long time, I know sometimes he would get exasperated when he sees certain things happening that he knows this is not what we work for. This is not what we push for. This is not what we sacrifice for. And it could be very daunting. Not impossible, but it could put a daunting spirit on you. And you may get some criticism from people out there who may not fully understand what's going on because they're looking from the outside in, not the inside out. So these are things, Bahamians, you have to consider when you're talking about conditions in our country, because not everything is easy to do. You will have those who will oppose you, particularly those who have their own agendas. That's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. You'll have persons who would oppose you because they want their own selfish purposes to succeed. Now, under no circumstances should the will of the majority be superseded by the will of the minority. That should never be. That's not in the best interest of the Bahamian people. What is in the best interest of the Bahamian people is what is good for the overwhelming majority of Bahamian people. Because all of them have to eat, all of them have to live in this country, and the cost of living is very high. That is a major problem. And of course, the Prime Minister mentioned that some things they were doing but did not have the kind of impact. At least he was honest to admit that. And so they have to come up with some other strategies. What is it that can be done? You may be able to suggest. Now, of course, they have all of these, what they call them, consultants, who are advising the government in the various areas. We should see some significant improvement because they put more money to the consultants. It will remain to be seen a year from now what will happen. Would we have better services? Would we have better situations? Would have changed over that period of time that we can see some real tangible results? Because it seems to me that more and more people are getting left behind. Now we have to close the gap. We have to make sure that more and more people are able to survive. And we got to keep our waking people living. You know, we're losing too many waking people now. And I'm concerned about that because, we want them to get as young as I am. But look like, they ain't putting enough effort. Yet as young as I am, you have to put effort, Bahamians. That don't come cheap. It requires a lot of hard work and commitment. It just doesn't come cheap. We have to build a nation. And of course, when you get as young as I am, you stick around till the man come back. I'm not going anywhere. You don't want to go anywhere. Because you see the country in the state it's in, you need to make your contribution. For those who have not yet reached the age of maturity, to be able to do something. You see all these little children in here? These little children got to be taken care of, Bahamians. We have to grow them up so they can get as young as I am. And so we have to make effort to help those who have not had a chance. There are many in the nation who haven't had a chance. Mr. Bruce, we have a caller. Caller, you live on here. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
How you today?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just concerned about.
You get over that cold?
Pardon?
You get over that flu you're having a little?
Yes, I'm improving. I was told to eat fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, I was observing you on the radio with that, right? What you
Yes,
need to
sir.
do also, right? When you cough, that little thing in your throat, don't never swallow that. That's prolonged the problem. You need to spit that out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Get rid of
okay.
it.
Yes,
But
sir.
Mr. Thompson,
Uh-huh.
like yesterday, you mentioned, I have another thing I want to talk to you about also. You mentioned yesterday in the old days when you was growing up, like the children, they had to be certain place. They couldn't come around the adults when they talking.
That is true. That's correct.
And you also mentioned that when these children, they see something, adult can believe no child. Like you say, the child say, okay, just want to do something to me or beat me. The parent wouldn't hear that child. He heard the next adult, whatever you have to say. And that is stick like a sore thumb because it's like, so what about child protection in the day? Because like Robin them day too. And that go.
But
easy.
let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Growing up in my time,
Yeah.
the adults always looked after the children. So
Yeah.
you could not go to mommy and daddy and say Auntie Francis did so and so, or the school teacher did so and so, or the shopkeeper did so and so.
Yeah, but Mr. Thompson,
They would never accept your word.
the child's word.
No, never.
So, okay, Mr. Thompson,
Mhm.
that means, you know, you realize right now today, if you was running that same system where when the children talk, you don't listen to a word they say, just listen to whoever the adult is, and whatever they say, be going by that and we punish the child for it. So,
Let me
so the child ain't have no voice then,
let
right?
me I think you misunderstand. You're
No, 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 no,
misunderstanding
no,
me.
no. I understand exactly what you're saying, you know, because I lived through that. I know what you're talking about, you know. You ain't
So,
like I,
well,
huh?
then, what I'm saying is there was discipline and order, but you don't have that today. You cannot
Mr.
have.
Thompson,
Go on.
when you say discipline and order, right?
Mhm.
Like the day we have order and discipline, I mean, in different places you have order, and other places you have disorder, all right? And I mean, it's like, so, I mean, like, then, then was more like a period where basically, to say if a child was sexually abused or just mistreated or just being physically abused by the parent or whoever the care person is, right? That child will be hidden away, all bruised up, can't, I mean, sick, whatever it is, and it's like no one even listens to that child because that child don't have a voice. You know, that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool, Mr. Thompson.
Well, I never went through anything like that.
No, but it isn't cool for the mere fact that, you know, someone do something to somebody, you talk
No,
to
but
people.
see, yeah,
Huh?
but my mother and father and the teachers and my aunt and my elders and those who were leading in the community, those in the church, those in the family, these were responsible people, man.
Yeah, but
They were
everyone ain't
not. They were
responsible.
not going around taking advantage of us.
And Mr. Thompson, everyone ain't the same. Your parents do good parents, you know. And I mean, there's some good parents and
I'm
some
not
bad
saying
parents,
everybody is the same. I'm not
you
saying
know.
we don't have, but today now things have gotten worse.
Yeah.
But
But
you cannot allow little children to be disrespectful to senior members of the family. That's being allowed today, where you would have a shouting match between a little child and a senior member of the family. That was not tolerated in my day. You could not even say a because it was not tolerated. Period. They'll tell you sit down and shut up, or they shut
or,
you up.
or get beat like a slave.
You would be disciplined,
Yeah, beaten.
not made a slave. No, sir.
Mr.
We were
Thompson,
not made slaves.
Mr. Thompson, the temperament of people he ain't changed, you know. And in the days when things were more hidden, right? If someone was a really,
What you
really
mean?
like
What was hidden?
huh?
What was hidden?
Well, things are more exposed today. Everything online, this and that and that. People can see everything, right?
They could. Well, then how come they're not more honest with each other? Then how
Honest?
come you have such indiscretions so prevalent today? How come you have that?
Hmm.
Since it's
That's
more
the spirit of
open
man,
now,
Mr. Thompson.
huh?
That's the spirit of man. Man feel is always better to be telling
But
lies
there's
and
yeah, but
deception.
there's something else that is missing in your what you were saying. But
Something like
I'll
what?
let you finish and then I'll add to it
No,
because you
Mr.
said you
Thompson,
had
what is
another
missing what
point.
I saying though?
Yeah, go on.
Mr. Thompson,
Yeah.
what do you say is missing what I saying?
No. I said there's something that you did not add that is missing in what happened back then.
So
But
what is
I'll,
it
I'll
that
add
that,
to
that,
it.
that,
No,
that is
no. I
missing?
want I want to let you finish first before I make my because you said you had
No,
another
no,
point you wanted
I
to
just
make.
saying that's like a thought time because I mean like, you know, you can't take the voice of the youth away. They must be control and as adults in their
No,
place
no,
and
no,
space
no. The
must be the
voices.
ones to regulate,
Yeah, but okay. Anyhow, go ahead. Let me let you
you
finish
know.
and then I'll
But not
explain.
to take away the voice because the child could be telling you, man, they can't breathe. You could tell the child, man, go sit over there and things like that. Go talk. You can't talk to nobody. You're gonna die, Mr. Thompson. That's what bad it be sometimes. Or
I understand.
some children may be brought up. They say, well, they're not a favorite one, so you got to sleep in the outhouse while everyone's sleeping inside the house. You know, kind of way. And that'll go on. Or to say, well, there are some members or a member in the family that's disabled or something like that that be locked up inside a room that nobody know about except mommy and daddy. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, the day see more things, you can see more things because more things are really exposed. But in them days, some of the things was going on. Mr. Thompson, you know some things was going on there too. Hey, Mr. Thompson,
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson. You know what? I'm on a different note, right? I see
Yeah,
him.
you say you had another point.
I see that I'm that's from Red Cross, right? I passed it a couple of times, right?
Yes.
And I mean, they buck right out with persons trying to, I guess, gather all they could gather for the storm and whatever disaster come along, right?
Okay.
And coordination, right? But Mr. Thompson, it's proven with that Red Cross thing, you know. Even like it was no longer about a year ago or so that someone went in there and they stole everything. Nothing come out of it. Remember that?
I heard
Less than a
about
year
that.
ago.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're quite
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
and you know what? Look at the people who be in there, say they were just going in there to work with the Red Cross. You know, I mean, Bahamians are in charge, but then look at the people who they got there inside there waking it, making sure everything all right. When we have the last
I'm in your
disaster,
trouble, you know.
no, I tell you, man, hold on, man.
Okay.
When we have a disaster coming up, it's going to be a problem because they're the same Red Cross and thing, like they like to use the term, you know, the most vulnerable amongst us,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
So they could bypass legitimacy and to just take and to do whatever they want to do it. But I mean that's stuff for the hustle, eh? But then in the name of Bahamas, right? Don't you think that when you're doing that kind of hustle, you're trying to hustle to make sure that the Bahamian is first and then you go worry about the rest afterwards? That's what the money was put there for, or whatever
That's
the
correct.
funds were, or
Because it's
the goods. Beg your
it's
pardon?
supported. Yeah, the Bahamians ought to be first and foremost in
You know,
everything.
because man, Mrs. Thompson, why what bring me to that too is because I mean I've been watching that thing across the water there with the problem what they got there, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Thompson, you know, when you could destroy everything you have and those don't care about nothing and then crying hungry and want people to feed you and while you just continue to burn down and mess up everything
Right.
and want someone to feel sorry,
Right.
Mr. Thompson, when you see the Haitian Red Cross in Haiti to go and collect stuff, you think any Bahamian could get anything out of that? Hello?
I doubt it.
Hello, Mr. Thompson?
I doubt it.
Okay. See, we got to wake up in this country, you know. These people and things, they ain't, I mean, like, for whatever Bahamian is, they ain't got no kind of nothing for it. I take me to God and respect. In any
Okay.
country you go to, you find that, like, indigenous people will basically be the first ones. I mean, there are a couple of countries where they ain't really checking with the people, right? But I don't think we deserve that because we've never been a violent person.
No,
we
we
never go,
haven't.
we never gone against our government per se, man.
No.
And our government is just like a rude, just like a rude child. Do what it want to do, and all we want to do is just mess us up. Like that's look like the ultimate objective, and it don't make no sense because I mean, without Bahamian Bahamas, you have a different culture, different whatever. The Bahamas thing be the Bahamas.
You don't have no Bahamas.
Hey, Mr.
You have the
Thompson.
Bahamians.
And then people later who are like, no, come in the country, tell them no one to tell how to run that, even though they killing one another, you know.
But that's what they themselves said. Even the so-called
They don't want no one come in
educated
the
ones.
country.
But hold on, caller. Even the so-called educated ones in the diaspora,
Yeah,
they say they want to run it themselves. So I don't know why we should be wasting time with them.
you understand what I'm saying? You know, and I
They
have
could
one in
go
that.
ahead and fix it as they want to fix it and just withdraw from them. That's what we have an opportunity to do now.
I listened to one of the after speaker lady, right? And
Yes.
she's like, you know, it's the same thing over and over. It's just the same stuff. Why didn't we get somebody else? How about getting the Chinese or the Russians? They think the Russians is play. The Russians go in China and inside Haiti right now and things like that. They think, well, they should need to start behaving themselves, man.
They need to.
You ain't
They
conducting
need to.
yourself human and nothing, and you expect to be stepping up in that field country and all over the world and then you want to go home and you know, I mean, come on, man, what kind of people that is?
Paula, you made some very valid points, but we're gonna have to go to break now because I hear the music in the background.
Yeah, man.
But
Appreciate
thanks
it.
very much for calling in.
Yeah, man.
I can't
Yeah, man.
disagree with anything that you said as far as those points are concerned. But one or two things you missed, I'm gonna bring it out when we come back from the break. Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on Open Line Thursday. We'll be back after the break.
Express yourself live.
on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. I understand from reliable source that we had a shooting somewhere down on Carmichael Road. A bus driver was shot, and police are investigating this particular matter. Just came to me while I was on the break, and so we want you people to exercise caution and restraint. I sometimes have to travel on that route myself, 16A, and I think more attention has to be paid to that route. You never know when things are going to break forth. That's the thing. What I think we need to understand. We don't know when violence is going to flare up. When you least expect it, it happens. But we have to be vigilant Bahamians because you don't know. People just get into a frenzy, and we don't know the circumstances of the case. We don't know, but it's just some information that has been put out by a reliable source. We believe it, and the police are doing their investigation, so we're going to leave it at that. But it happened today. It happened, well, less than 2 hours ago. So that might have been before even the show started. So things are happening out there, and it's not good going into Labor Day weekend to be having shootings and possibly murder occurring around this kind of time. And people should be preparing to celebrate Labor Day. A family would be in sorrow because a relative would have been shot. We don't know how serious it may be, but just being shot at and being injured, having to be taken to the hospital for medical attention. That is a frightening thing for a family to go through. And a lot of these things, like I said, Bahamians, do not necessarily have to be. Why should we be bombarded day in and day out with some member of the public having to be hurt? A living human being, a healthy human being, waking on his job. I mean, what are we saying? I mean, that's one person that's pulled off the job now and cannot actually perform. Hopefully the injuries are not too serious, but you never know. So these things do happen. So we have to exercise caution and restraint. And of course, the police always say to the young men, learn to settle your differences peacefully, but they have to be taught how to do it. And I think there are those of us who know better, who can help them. If they're willing, of course, they have to be willing to listen. The older men in the community ought to help the younger men. That's what God's word says. All right? And we're going to have to lend direction and guidance because some of these younger people are so quick to act irresponsibly. They're quick for violence. They get hot-tempered very, very quickly. That's not a good position to be in because then tragedy can strike. Then you jump back and say you're sorry for this, sorry for that, but the person is already gone. And that creates a problem. So let's hope that no more of these incidents be occurring. So tomorrow is Friday, which is Labor Day, and we're going into this weekend. We don't want to see any more of these things happening. So those of you who are going to be celebrating, don't get overheated now because the weather is hot out there. It's going to be a hot Labor Day. So people get overheated and then they start drinking and they start misbehaving and the raw side of them comes out. And that creates another problem. The police won't be able to be everywhere. The police will be out on the roads and seeing what they could do to bring order to the streets. But then at the same time, we as citizens have a responsibility to help each other, to behave differently, to behave responsibly. That is what law-abiding citizens ought to be doing, setting an example to drive responsibly on the streets and not to be doing foolishness. Because even when I was out today, there are people cutting cross in these intersections and people making their own lanes. I think the police have to pay attention to this. We got to start hitting some people with some heavy fines for their first offense. And they'll get the message and they'll stop. You can't go light on them because lives are being lost. So we want it to stop completely and not be carrying on over and over and over again until tragedy strikes. Then you realize you should have done something about it. But the person's already gone, or persons would have been gone. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272. This is an open line Thursday, and we won't have any show tomorrow because it's Labor Day. And we want to encourage you to call in and express your views. Some of you did call in, and I really appreciate that. I'm hoping I could get some more feedback from those on Facebook and those who are listening by YouTube. We want to hear from you as well. You are an important part of our listening and viewing audience. So what you have to say is very important. And of course, those who want to call in by phone, we want to encourage that because it's a call-in show. We want you to express yourself, but not only express yourself, but what is it that you bring to the table to deal with the many issues? See, what we have is a combination of issues that affect us. No one particular personality can deal with all of these issues by himself or herself. That's not the way it was designed to be. It takes the collective will of a people to bring good to the country, the collective good of our people. And we need more people to be involved in bringing about positive things, because sometimes people look at it as being hopeless. Well, all these terrible things are happening every time they look around, they hear something negative. They just give up. And they think there's no hope. But that's when there's hope, Bahamians. That's when there's real hope. When you reach the point where it looks like nothing is happening. I've been down that road, you know. And I can tell you, when it looks like nothing is happening, that's when something is happening for your benefit. You're going to go through some very severe testing times. I've told you that before. It is going to happen, Bahamians. So let's face up to it now. We have to face up to it and come to understand that we are living in very serious, very dangerous times. That's just the harsh reality we're in. And we have some wicked people out there who want to do their own thing. And there are those of us who want to do that which is good and positive for the country. But we have to fight back. We have to hold our ground. You can't just give up and say, just throw your hands up in the air and just quit. No, I'm not going to quit. As young as I am, I'm not going to quit. Because I like living, Bahamians. I want to stick around some more. And so, because there's still much work to do in the country, and since we have so many who have disappeared, our working population, we don't want to keep losing too many of them. Then we're going to really have a problem. And then you have this whole army of children who need to be cared for. What's going to happen to them? Who's going to look after them? We've had some families that have been through some very rough, difficult, trying times. Now, I'm not going to cast any aspersions on anybody as to why this and why that. I personally do not necessarily know, so I'm not going to get into that. But I'll just simply say that some challenging times have been occurring to certain families. And I believe as a nation, we're going to go through some very serious challenges. It's going to be as early as this same year. If it has not started already, I think it has already started. But there are some things we can do to avoid a lot of things that will be coming up. But are we ready to stop it? Are we ready to work? Are we ready to put our shoulders to the wheel to make sure that the country is safe, that we are building a nation under God according to the Constitution? That's what we have to do, Bahamians. We just can't sit back and just let the whole country fall apart. Our mothers and fathers would not be pleased. They would ask me, what did we wait for? What did we sacrifice for? They must have done something for us. And they did. Now we must sacrifice today for those coming after us so that they can have a better country. If we don't do that, Bahamians, we won't have a better country. That's what that would amount to. And we certainly don't want that. I want to see the country improve. I want to see where we have problems with families, where people are not getting on well with one another. We have to have people who can intervene and help and assist. Sometimes it may not necessarily be relatives of those particular persons. It may take persons who are not related to them, who can bring an objective view to whatever the problem may be, and who are not prepared to take sides because they know this one or they know that one. We need people to be more objective in the country. Now, of course, I hear some people talking about giving the younger people more control and telling the older people to just step aside and let the young people take over. Now, let me just put it this way. If you look at the United States of America, you got two senior men who would be considered old men. I hear no one in the United States complaining about the fact that these two senior men running for the office of President of the United States. One is president already. That's Joe Biden. And there have been a lot of negative criticism about him. I haven't found many radio personalities to say much in favor of him. It seems like everyone is trying to beat him down, and it would appear that the radio personalities are pulling for the other fella, Donald Trump. And so if they have no objectivity in their commentary, there's none. They're just pulling for one side. You can see all what they consider to be wrong in the nation because of this particular one individual, Mr. Joe Biden. He's responsible for all the problems in the United States. But when Mr. Donald Trump was president, what did he do when he was president? How did he behave when he was president? Go and check the record. That's what people need to look at. Because he said some things while he was the president, while the election was on, and even after the election was on, singing the same old song. Can't prove nothing. Hasn't brought any evidence. Couldn't bring anything in a court of law. And when Mr. Biden was sworn in as the president of the United States, yet the man, he won't run in the same office, you know. He won that same position. He was not there for the transition of power from himself to Mr. Biden. And he said some nasty things against Mr. Biden. Now, I can't say those things on the radio. It's contrary to the rules of the radio station and to IRCA. So I cannot repeat those kind of unsavory remarks. But he has been doing it repeatedly over and over and over again. And the radio stations have been carrying it. Full blast. And they make fun of the current president. You don't do those kind of things. Even if you don't agree with that particular personality being in the office, that's one thing. But the person is there in the office. That's what we need to respect. And no office should be where if a particular personality is not there, it can't run right. Because that particular personality is not going to be there forever. It'll be there for the most would be 8 years, as Obama was. And then he has to move on. So it's the things you put in place, and that's what we have in this country. The things we put in place to run the country properly. So whoever comes into office ought to be going by those rules and those regulations to govern the country peacefully. So we can have from one administration to the other, peaceful administration. But of course, you had that rebellion in Washington when Mr. Biden was to be sworn in, and there was interference with the voting, where people tried to overturn the results that were duly counted. The count was taken, and it was declared that Mr. Biden was the winner. I don't know much more they want, but they're still telling us today they stole the election. What kind of nonsense is that? The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272. They believe if they keep telling lies, you tell a lie long enough, and people believe it, say, yeah, that has to be true. But lies cannot stand. They fall down to the ground. Truth is what stands up. And while the man is not perfect in the office, what I'm saying is we ought to respect the office, even though we may not necessarily agree with the person who's holding the office. Same thing in our country, the prime minister who holds that office. You may not like the particular personality in the office, but the person in the office carries a lot of responsibility. Perhaps, in some cases, more responsibility than most other leaders in other nations. Because when you look at the office of prime minister, if you look and see how our constitution is constructed, and you look at the office of prime minister, the only people who can keep the personality in the office of prime minister in check are representatives in the House of Assembly. They're the only ones who can really keep him and his team in check. But is that happening? The answer is no, it's not happening. So you have a mixing up. And so these people who are in our house, they looking for one position. I want to be chairman of one board. Or the prime minister, create a new board. You know how many boards have been created around this place? And all kind of fancy position, ambassador at large, and other things were created. And then positions opening up, consulars general's office and consul generals and ambassadorships opening up in other countries around the world. They're sending people out there. And so all this costs money. But all that comes under the office of the prime minister. And the prime minister has been doing a lot of travel. And some of you have been complaining about that, the fact that he takes too much time outside the country, not concentrating on conditions in the country. There are some who say he has two agendas. One for the local people, another one for the international people. Well, who could vote for him? International people can't vote for him. He may be a star in their eyes, but they can't cast a vote for him. I can get him to vote for him. Can't. So sometimes egos can get in the way and cause problems. Whereas a leader ought to take care of his people. That's his first duty. That's in the Constitution. But the office of prime minister is like a gigantic octopus that spreads its tentacles into every single facet of Bahamian life. Remember that you heard that from Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, because that's true. Every single facet of life, Bahamian life, the office of prime minister can penetrate when you look at our Constitution. Some people say there's too much power in the office of prime minister. Tremendous power. And I'm not going to disagree with them on that. That's a correct analysis. But now the personality who wields the power, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272. See, sometimes I get off on a tangent and I start talking about these things. So don't mind me. You know, Professor could go until Christ come back. But the point is, Bahamians, we have issues. We have real, serious problems. And we are trying to hold our own in the world and make friends with the world. And then people will keep pushing you. And I see a sign, some funny things, which have nothing to do with the Bahamas. I don't know how we get mixed up with them people in some other parts of the world with their problems. How we get mixed up with that? And they just signed some recent agreements. The Bahamas sign on to this agreement, sign on to that agreement. I have to get to understand what these are about, only what I heard on the media and what I read briefly in the papers. So how we get to sign all these funny things, you don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about it. Never was discussed on the airwaves. Never was brought to the attention to people of Centerville. So, I mean, what are we signing on? For what? And for who? We have to ask ourselves, are we building the Bahamas for genuine Bahamians, or are we building the Bahamas for somebody else? That's what you got to ask yourself. Because we're not even consulted. There is no consultancy. Well, the man said he have all kind of consultants now. Got more money, put aside more money to give out more money to these consultants that he's hired. Almost $77 million in consultancy fees will be paid out in this year. The people who are supposed to give the man this advice to better improve the country. Now, you can look 1 year later and see if the money was well spent, and see if there's been any significant change in the way we do things. Because you can't be spending all this money and then at the end of the day, we're still dead in the water. That doesn't make any sense. We have to do better, Bahamians. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272. Yes, the crime wave is still there. I haven't talked about murder. You can bring it up. I'm going to bring it up now because murder is a serious one. The government of the Bahamas has been grappling with it for 50 years and 10 months. 50 years and 10 months. Are we any closer to dealing with the crime of murder? The principal one now, murder. They're dealing with the murder thing. We ain't got that one under control. But we see more and more people dying, 100 or more, virtually every year. Well, how come? How come we have virtually 100 plus people murdered every year in the Bahamas? Mr. Producer, we have a caller? I didn't want to hold the call up long. Okay, all right. How is it, Bahamas, that we have near to 100 people losing their lives in a small country like the Bahamas. Whereas some big nations with millions of people do not have the high murder rate that we have. Okay. What is the difference between us and them? What is it that we are doing, or what we ought to be doing, let's put it that way, to bring down this murder rate? Are we concerned about that? Because we don't know who the victims are going to be. That's the thing about the murder. We just don't know. So we have to we have to be careful. We have to exercise caution and restraint, Bahamians. This is very serious business. Because once a life is lost, that person is gone. That person cannot contribute to the nation building. You gotta have these people here until the man come back. They ain't got nowhere to go. They have a short span. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We'll be back after this break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
On the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We have our share of problems, but we're going to solve every single one of them. I can tell you all on Monday, if I have Constitution Day on Monday or probably Tuesday, one of those days. But I can have Constitution Day next week. And I'm going to show you from the Constitution how we can solve all these problems and get rid of this problem once and for all. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Brother Thompson.
Hey, how are you, man? That
How
was
are
you
you, my
trying to
friend?
call in, eh?
Yeah, but listen to me. I was
Uh-huh.
trying to get a little earlier, but was having little difficulties with the phone.
Oh, okay.
You were talking about the murder situation in our country.
That's correct. I did
That
mention
is
it.
here with us. I don't know what we're going to do, but something needs to be done quickly.
But listen
Them
now.
ankle bursted and thing ain't working.
Say that again.
Them ankle bursted where they putting on these fellas' foot,
That
they ain't
ain't
working.
that's not the solution to murder.
No.
So that's wasting people's time and
But
wasting
let
our
me say
taxpayers'
this, sir.
money.
If they can blow up a building between two buildings without damaging one of them, what they need to do is get some ankle bracelet, put it on a fella's foot, and the minute they touch that or touch it in the wrong way, it blow their foot off. It don't blow the whole body. Don't kill them. Just blow their foot off. If they need, they tie everything in place. It has to be something to put some drastic actions called for drastic measures. You have to do some serious things now. For somebody to be able to take off an ankle bracelet of their foot and put it on a cap
Yes, that
and go,
happened.
something has to be wrong with that.
Yes, that is true.
You know,
I
and it
agree.
seems like don't care who they give the job to. It's like they can't get it right. I'm wondering if they're using the right thing.
But have you heard of any severe punishment being meted out for murder?
Boy, it is none.
None. That's correct. You're quite
You
right.
know, and I can switch now. The young 16-year-old lad who now been missing almost going on 3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks.
Yes.
I have nieces and nephews. I don't have no children that young, but I have nieces and nephews. That could have happened to any one of them. But what I'm saying, a 16-year-old, for you to keep a 16-year-old down, you have to have him in a dungeon tie-up. Now, they said that they saw him out on CCTV moving around. So that
Yeah.
means he's in lockdown, tied down nowhere.
No.
He's out on the freedom run. When
So-
they do catch up with him, they're going to catch up with him. When they do catch up with him, what charges in the Constitution, what can they charge him with?
You asked a good question, you know. That's an excellent question that you
Now, I believe the person who's harboring him, they can be charged. But what charge they gonna have? All this police energy, all
Yes,
of
a
this
lot of
police
weight.
thing, all this
Yes.
police resource, what they
Yes.
putting on for him to catch him?
Yes.
What they gonna do with him?
I'm glad you asked that. That's an excellent question.
And not only that, when they do find him, when he do go back home, is it gonna come to the public on where he been? He's back home safe? Because they always say when they go missing, but you never know when they find them.
You never know when they find them. That is correct. Yes. Even with the one in the Elutra, I think. it
Yeah,
was.
I hear the last time I hear, but that one I hear he ran from the police, and the police caught him, and that was it.
Yes.
I ain't hear any years it was that, but you know. And then the last thing I gotta go on. You know, I
Yes.
have to talk a little politics.
Go
I
ahead.
congratulate Mr. Pintard on his victory,
Okay.
but I want him to know every shared eye is not asleep. I don't want him to believe he can knock Dr. Minnis out like that, and Dr. Minnis can play dead. Now, if you see, if I was Dr. Minnis' strategist, I wouldn't have given up on Dr. Minnis as yet. Okay? Dr. Minnis and those of the family, if Dr. Minnis can hook up with Frederick McAlpine in Grand Bahama and Holly Alson Moutry down here in Nassau, what could the difference is? And them three get together, there'll be a torn in the F&M side.
Okay.
Michael Pintard will have to give up. There'll be a torn.
But they already elected Mr. Pintard as leader.
Yeah, I'm saying, but they're gonna be a you don't forget now. You remember when Reverend McAlpine realized he wasn't getting a nomination no more.
Okay.
You see that head he kick up?
But where were his constituents then? Why didn't they not support him?
Who was that?
Mr. McAlpine. Why he didn't win? Was it what?
Because he started to get too outspoken.
Wait a minute now. Wait. You mean to tell me, being outspoken like that, he didn't have the support of his constituents?
That is why I respect him more than I really honestly respect Mr. Pintard. When Mr. Pintard him suck back up under Dr. Minnis, Mark Obama say he ain't into that. He ain't doing that.
Yes.
He came with the people. He rather lose doing right for the people.
But then this is
That
why
is suck up under Dr. Minnis.
this is why I am saying, see, being a member of a political party is one thing, and this is where I believe we're making a big mistake. The constituents of McAlpine's area,
Yeah.
he was fighting on their behalf.
Yes.
They have every, well, let's put it this way. They ought to support him.
They should have.
But then you see, the thing is, if you don't
It's a
stand with the
party
man,
thing.
no, but
It's a
hold
party
on.
thing.
Yeah, but it ain't nothing to do with no party. How
Yeah,
could it
but
be anything to do with a
according to
party?
the people here,
Caller, listen to
I
me.
must do my disclaimer. I am a supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party.
No, I'm not really want to get into that part of it, because you're discussing an issue. You
Yeah.
have to know whether you supported the PLP or not. That's a personal thing. What I'm saying is, being a constituent in McAlpine's constituency.
Malcolm Brown should have won on sound.
Pardon?
He should have won on sound.
Yes,
as
he
an
should have,
independent.
and that's what I'm gonna have to speak to this next week to it, because this is the mistake the Bahamian people who are the ones who are going to the polls to vote keep making the mistake over and over again. It has nothing to do with the party.
Doctor, let me say something to you. In the history of politics in the Bahamas, we only had one true independent winner, you know. That's Whitney Bastien. Whitney Bastien beat both the PLP and the FNM candidate. The rest of these people around you talking about is independent. They as an independent, if the FNM don't run a candidate, then they win. Or if the PLP don't run a candidate like that. But Whitney Bastien is the only independent member of parliament that beat both an FNM and a PLP candidate in one election. No one else.
No,
I've
he
never
didn't.
done it.
That is correct.
So you cannot be an independent. Tennyson Belgium was no independent because the PLP didn't run nobody. He had some FNM supporters, and the rest of the PLP is voted for him. Now you know it's going to be an interesting race. Kalani. If Dr. Minnis doesn't get the nomination, which I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think Mr. Pintard will give him a nomination no more.
But isn't he not a member of the party?
Yeah, Mark Alban was still a member of the FNM too. He ain't got a nomination.
No. Listen to me. Based on what Pintard said, okay?
Pintard, I can't listen to Pintard.
Oh,
because
okay.
Pintard has invited Kamalavi. He invited Omar Smith. He invited all of these people up. And he didn't invite the leader of the DNA, which was Brandon McCartney up.
Right, okay.
Huh? He didn't invite the leader up.
Uh-huh.
That was a total disrespect, despite what Brandon might have said. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
Despite what Brown had said, that's behind you. You're talking about billing a group and billing this and billing that. You can't do that. You're gonna invite everybody and don't invite the leader. That don't make sense to me.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh. But didn't
But brother Thompson, I'm gonna finish listening to the show.
Yeah.
And you can go on from there.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate your call, man.
Yeah, God bless. We'll get together next week.
Okay, no, next
Happy
week.
Labor Day to you, man.
Yeah, thank you, and happy
Yeah,
Labor
man.
Day. Happy Labor Day. Yeah. No, the caller made some very interesting point, but let me just draw in on this particular point. He mentioned McAlpine. McAlpine was fighting for the people of his constituency. Now, here's where I have a major problem. And I think the electorate need to understand their position to support their representative fighting on their behalf. It's nothing to do with any party. You could be in St. Barnabas Church and you work to BTC. BTC is not going to water with you because you go to St. Barnabas Church. Come on. You have a responsibility to choose a representative. It has nothing to do with a political party. It has nothing to do with you. Even if you are a member of that party, you can dish the party because the party is not in this race in terms of you being able to support McAlpine, who was fighting on your behalf. He stood up. And then you suddenly withdraw, you pull the rug from under him and expect him to succeed? That's nonsense. That's utter foolishness. He should have had the full support of the constituents of his particular constituency. I think it's Pine Ridge, if I'm not mistaken. Whatever area he ran in Freeport or Grand Bahama. But he should have won it. I mean, when are we going to wake up in this country, Bahamians? When are we going to wake up, man? We always want to draw into a shell and say, well, I ain't going to support him because that's my party leader. Yes, that may be your party leader. But you're choosing a representative, Bahamian. That's a totally different kettle of fish. I have to go into great lengths next week on this because you don't understand these things. That's why we are so messed up today, 50 years and 10 months later. We just can't seem to get party representation and parliamentary representation, two different things entirely. I have to go deep into that. I got to pull the Constitution up. Because you people don't understand this. Choosing a parliamentary representative has nothing to do with a political party. The political party got one man, they say they want to make him to be the party representative. But you'd already chosen McAlpine. McAlpine was out there fighting for you. How you expect the man to continue to fight and win if you don't support him? You say, McAlpine, keep going. But that doesn't make any sense, Bahamians. You got to put your support there. If you don't support the man, how you expect him to succeed? It doesn't work that way, Bahamians. You can't go draw on a shell and say, oh, I go in to the party. It has nothing to do with no party. It has to do with you making a sound decision for yourself, your children, your future. What is the future of the people of that particular constituency? You live in that political party? Or you're going to chart a course from where McAlpine left off and keep going forward? You have to go back to no political party. And that's where we go wrong every single time. Of course, what happened recently, that was the political convention, and, all the guns were out. And they wanted a particular personality to be their leader, and that's fine, nothing wrong with that. And that particular personality got 75%. In fact, this was said even before. How did they know that Pintal was going to get 75% of the votes? 3/4 of the votes. How did they know that? This must have been something that was pre-organized. They had to be. How did that come out like that? But they were saying that ahead of time. He was going to get 3/4 of the votes. I said to myself, well, how the heck they know that? And they're supposed to be secret balloting. But then we saw all these people come out publicly saying they support Pintar. What do you expect, Bahamians? Some massive effort was made for the support of this particular personality. And I'm not saying they're wrong for doing that. Don't misunderstand me. But then what I am saying is supposed to be secret ballot. Ain't nothing secret around here, you know. We're only fooling ourselves. Because we're selling out ourselves for a bowl of porridge. That's what we're doing, Bahamians. That doesn't make any sense. So if they could say way in advance, Pintar was going to get 75% of the votes. And he got 75% of the votes. Anyhow, we got a call on the line. See, I could get carried away with these things. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Thompson. I'm calling right back.
Yes, sir.
Something going across my mind again. Mr. Thompson,
Uh-huh.
I thinking about getting one of them fluffy thing which you got on top of your head like that, right? With big just like that, right?
What do you mean?
A big fluffy afro. Right?
Okay, all right, okay.
Because
okay.
my hair was growing a little bit till last week. I say, you know what? Let me just go to the barber and get it clean up.
Uh-huh.
And I go on to family values. You know the family values fella, right?
Yeah.
What they're talking about family values and all for this, all for that, right?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Thompson, when I sit down in that man chair, the man put the thing around my neck and think that he choked me to death. They like, hold on, they're too tight, man. Man, you're the problem, man. It's the same time. Every time you come inside, the same thing, man. I tired of effing this and that, huh?
I ain't supposed to
Thompson?
talk to you like that.
Mr. Thompson, some people be possessed. And it's like, so hold on. So you're having this discussion, three of them, let's see what's four of them. He cutting here, but they having this discussion. He's stopping 2-3 minutes, having this loud discussion and thing, they're talking about race and class and racism. It's the same thing. And you know, that time my hair, half of my hair off, this and that. Mr. Thompson?
Well, you can make a mistake.
Mr. Thompson?
Uh-huh.
So he reached under my neck now. He pushing, right?
Uh-huh.
I say, hold on, man, you cut me, man. Man, it's the same effing thing and thing like that, man. Are you always complaining this and that, Mr. Thompson? I think it's something in the water or something in the area. Because one day something, I mean, it's like, where does it come from? And personally, me, Mr. Thompson, I don't bother with people at all. All right?
Yeah.
And it's
okay.
like, are you going around this, boy, look here. Is a rude awakening. Some people stop their business and thing like that.
But what caused you to go there?
No, I have to go there and get a haircut, man.
Oh, okay, I get you now. But you were not treated that way in the past.
And this man tried this, man. I tell him, man, hold on, man. That's already going to cut me off, man. He trying to tell me, no, I finished cutting you, man. Pulling me in. I say, bye. Just me. If I don't want you, that's it. Man, you ain't got to effing pay me, man. You know, that's all right. That's why I effing come here no more.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson.
Yeah.
And these people go on the radio talking about values and this and that and that and that and
Family
Jesus
values.
and these and Bethlehem and Jerusalem and all. Mr. Thompson. That's why, Mr. Thompson, I tell you, I don't bother with that. And people I don't bother with either. Mr. Thompson, I had an experience a couple of days ago, or yesterday, right?
Uh-huh.
I go, and this is right basically his name, this is in what's his name? Martin, Glenasana Martin constituency, all of them in the same basic area.
Yeah, that's Engliston. Yeah.
Yeah, Engliston. This lady on Wolf Road selling fruits.
Yeah.
Right down from the ID, right? I mean, from them, right?
Yeah.
Or across from, like up, that's from FYP. Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Have some nice sour stuff on the table, right?
Uh-huh.
I pass it, say, man, they look nice. I say, man, how much you selling them for? She say, pull over. When they pull over, I say, man, how much you selling them for? Man, look here, that's a dumb effing question. You can see the here, this and that and that, and this and that and that. You asking these stupid questions to me. Hold on, man. You really expect me to spend my money with you? You don't conduct business like this. You know what this woman tell me? F you.
Yeah, but caller, please.
Mr. Thompson, let's hope.
No, but hold on, caller. You know, just cut that out. Cut that part out.
Yeah, but listen here.
We don't need to hear that.
Yeah, but listen here. See, people, I don't know what it is. People are so frustrated or whatever they are, whatever they're going on in their life.
They may be frustrated, yes.
Hey, Mr. Thompson. And I mean, you stop and you're just going to go cater their business and it's like Mr. Thompson, me personally, I'm telling you no lie. Me, I'm going to barber and want to be just like you. Get a fluffy white and then deeper than that, right?
Okay.
The people who selling the fruit on the side of the road, one or two of them they go from, but boy, I tell you no lie. What that experience? I just want to say some demeaning things to me, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know this one point can of paint. All right?
Yeah, well,
and stuff like that ain't cool you on the side of the road and that's you conducting a business.
Yeah, okay.
And in that area, I wasn't surprised anyhow because I got my car and I left because I get done see the area and thing with them people and thing like that. They the places that people always get to win and all that. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
You see, it's a mentality that people they overcharge on. I don't know what everyone all hype up and thing and they own head and thing and I don't know, man. It ain't cool.
So I'm not saying that your experiences are not real because I believe they are. But the question is, what are you going to do about it now?
What do you mean I could do about it?
Yeah.
I ain't going to the barber no more.
Well, you ain't got to go to the barber anymore, you know. Well,
not that one. I had to go on the
Maybe,
second barber to
maybe,
get my hair cut.
maybe he had a bad day. You ever thought about that?
No, 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 man.
Because you've
No,
been to him
that there?
before.
No, man. No. That come from that there? No, man. That was demonic. I was shocked. Like that rage and this and that and that and that old man, you know. You talking about these young boys need to go get their temper and all that together.
Yeah.
It ain't the young boys, it's humans in general be like that, woman and man.
Okay.
It's a temperament problem. People don't know how to conduct themselves and they simply don't know what to say around people. Especially when you go in their place of business.
Okay.
Huh? How you expect, man, what that mean? When you act like that, you don't need to be in business. You feel me, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
You smell the customer and knocking and that derogatory, the meaning way.
Yeah, okay.
Huh? Like you larger than life. One thing I say to myself, I don't like being around people, especially in their place. You know, in my space.
Okay, well, thank you for.
But I could be just like you, growing fluffy white, just like you, Mr. Thompson. Think they'll accept me? I ugly. You handsome. Think they'll accept ugly one, the big whitey.
Thank you for your compliment and thank you for your contribution. Okay, caller made some interesting remarks, but we don't need to get into the negative terminology that people would express themselves. We don't have to say much about that. Just simply say that, you know, some use some uncomplimentary words, and I prefer to leave it like that. You don't want to go any further than that on radio because, you know, this is a responsible radio station. My job as host is to, you know, caution people on those matters like that. It's unfortunate, and let me just say that people are under enormous pressure. In fact, I'm beginning to see it myself, so I'm not going to disagree with the caller. I think he is right on target because people are very frustrated. In fact, I get frustrated too. The Constitution says no man, woman, or child shall ever have their lives frustrated by deprivation, and I'm tested with that one every day. My life being frustrated by me being deprived of certain things that I ought to have, that ought to be coming my way, and I'm having obstacles put in my way to block me, to prevent me, which is unconstitutional, and I'll fight it and overcome and be successful with what I'm doing. But it does not mean it's going to be a problem-free society. But I agree with him that frustration level is extremely high, very high indeed. And I find myself getting frustrated, you know, not to the point where you want to carry on and like how he said, these people are carrying on. It makes you feel uncomfortable. And you have to exercise patience and tolerance sometimes in dealing with people. And I have to find myself say, where's my patience? Where's my tolerance? Because a lot of people say things to you that are not the best. You don't want to comment on what they would say, but it's not the best. You just have to leave it like that. But the point is, people are under enormous frustration. People have problems. So I agree with the last caller. This frustration level is extremely high. We have to find a way to bring this under control because it spill out into the business community. It spill out into the way they operate their business and how they carry on. That's what we have to understand, Bahamians. And I hope we can bring it under control before it gets way out of hand. There's still time to bring it under control. But the question is, are we ready and prepared to do that? I hope that we will, because I'm going to have, I have to take a day. I'm going to do Constitution Day next week, and I want to expound on what was said about McAlpine and people in Grand Bahama. Okay, and the gentleman talked about Whitney Bastian. I remember Whitney Bastian. He defeated both the FNM and the PLP in, I think it was Andros, where he ran. And so he was able to maneuver himself in there and get through. but people have to understand that there are decisions they have to make. Okay, this has been your host, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, on the Global Radio Network 99.5. I want you to have a successful holiday. No more murders, Bahamians, please. Let's leave that alone. Let's have a successful holiday and come back Monday and be well prepared to help build the Commonwealth of Bahamas. This has been your host, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson, on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas.